the combo before, but that's all right if you're shifting on, I suppose. But I'm not as into. I don't really want to look at nasty meat right now, to be honest, dude.
Okay.
That looks gross, so I'm just not in the mood. But if other people want to look at it, but we were on some cool topics. We were on some cool topics.
We can go back, but if it's okay, I could just share this in another and show, for the people who aren't getting in touch with this on a regular basis, for those who would like to look, I mean, you have the ability now to see how it ends up in the butchery, and I can like, I don't need to show like, other things than just the organ, how it affects the organ, and that's it. Can I get like 30
Yeah,
seconds for this video?
yeah, I don't mind. I mean, if people are looking at it. Hey, Dave,
Okay,
if you're here, quick
I'll
question.
hit play.
Dave, if you're here, do you think that there's two poles within a larger dome? Do you think there is like a hemispherical dome and then two poles within that? That's my question. If you're at your mic, or if you want to answer it at some point, since I see you're in here.
Repeat it again real quick. I'm working on a little thing I'm going to place in the chat real quick.
Like, do you think there's two poles within a larger, like 180-degree dome?
Yeah. It seems like there's a firmament of some sort. I don't know if it's a dome that goes all the way to the ground or something's containing the gas. I don't know if it could be a superfluid or whatever, but it seems like there's some kind of reflective of, well, the whole idea of the double rainbow is what's interesting about the idea for a firmament, because if the double rainbow reverses the colors and it's dimmer, it's always like the same spacing apart, and it's dimmer than the first rainbow. So if it was a firmament of a certain thickness, it would always be the same distance apart and be reverse colors as well as dimmer, not as bright as the first one. So it's like reflecting off the inside surface of the firmament and the outside surface of the firmament. I mean, that works as a possibility of what would be creating a double rainbow.
Interesting. You're saying that denotes layers of like dissipating.
Like a thickness of something that's solid. The only way to E1 also was working on this. He said he could only recreate a double rainbow by using like a salad bowl type bowl, like a glass bowl. He couldn't do it with any other like shape of a surface, but but you could get the same effect because it reflects the outside. It's like if the sun's reflecting off of the firmament, it reflects off both layers, the inside and the outside, and creates that illusion. He could recreate that illusion with a salad bowl, nothing else. It's not an illusion. He could recreate that effect of a double rainbow or whatever prism.
That's pretty interesting, dude. And then, have you seen this? I'll just post it real quick. Lion, if you were trying to get in, go ahead. But
no. I just said, yeah, buddy.
This shows the relationship between the pyramids and rainbows, and the 51.84 degree with the 42 degree like edges. That one's.
What do you look? Hold on, I was just drawing something. I was going to post in the thing still. All right. Hold on. Are you showing it? Are you sharing screen?
This fits what this is, the double rainbow. Basically, no, I posted it in the chat.
Oh, okay.
That double rainbow is related to the same angles as the pyramids. It's like some kind of sacred geometry.
Oh, yeah.
Connected to the double rainbow. And the 51.84 degrees and the golden ratio. Then the 50 to 53 degrees is the double rainbow that apparently, which they claim is connected to Earth's axis at its minimum tilt, but many of us would say, well, it's not the Earth's axis, it's actually the alignment of the tropics, on a planar stationary type Earth. So, But that's what they're saying, Earth's axis. So it's actually related to how the sky works.
Interesting. It reminds me of the thing that didn't become like as widely shared or talked about at the time, but the rainbows. I think it was Dave Weiss that was showing it on Ghostbusters back a while back, and he was showing that the rainbows get like more shallow and closer, like longer and stretched out towards like Antarctica. Like there was a series of
I
rainbows.
was the Earth Brothers.
I don't know.
Founded Earth Brothers.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember that.
okay.
You think that's true? Because that's pretty.
I don't know. Yes, I've never witnessed it, but there's pictures of that being the case. I guess you could ask somebody in Antarctica if they've ever seen a rainbow like that, or just go there and get. You know,
What
The
about
closer
the
that
ones
you
in the
get to the
north?
south, the closer that you get to the south, apparently the rainbows their shape changes.
Did you hear when
Yeah,
Whitsitt and those guys were talking about the angles of the sun are different in Antarctica? They're like longer. Have you guys heard that? Almost like the sun is at some kind of like a lower angle, as if you're getting out, like there's like a shallower, like a different angle. That was
I didn't
another.
hear him say that.
I don't remember him saying that, but I do remember the Antarctic rainbows being like very low towards the horizon.
There's something with the shadows that is claimed to be, but I don't know that it's. Whitsitt had mentioned it, and others have as well. That there's like a different way that the shadows are there, is what's experienced, or what the claim is. Then it's like the shadow has a different elongation to it.
He was also saying that something about the sunspots were upside down.
Well, the angle of the shadow thing was potentially related to the same rainbow effect. That's why I mentioned it. Like if everything is kind of squashed in a way, in some different way.
Right.
I don't know. It just seems like it's in that same category, but I'm not saying it's concluded. What I'm mentioning.
Seems like that would be just a known thing. Do you think that they could have just like made that up, and somebody did some graphic work with rainbows to support the idea that there's a firmament? That would suck if that's the case. Someone's just fucking with us, because it's a really cool thing if that is true. Because what would cause a rainbow to flatten out towards the outside of the firmament, or towards where the outside of the firmament's thought to be? But on the dual pole, the firmament wouldn't necessarily be that low in Antarctica, because there would be such a larger area around all of the land.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Does this also happen in the north? Is this something that's a polar thing, or is it only a south pole thing? But I wanted to mention
Yeah.
this as well. I just plugged
Light's
it in.
affected by the electromagnetic uh, um, nature of everything anyway. So you could say there's a certain.
But does this happen
cause.
at the north? Does this happen at the north equally? Is the claim or no?
I don't know. That's another thing to find out.
Let me just read this real quick. This is from ChatGPT. It says, yes, shadows in Antarctica can often be unusually long and elongated, especially outside the brief summer period when the sun gets relatively higher in the sky. The main reason is that the sun's low angle above the horizon, etc. So they actually say, even in the globe model, that the shadows are elongated there, but they have their like globe explanation. So, but I'm just saying, like, if the idea of the rainbows being different, it could be related to that, if that's a thing.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing if it is true to look into, for sure.
Check out the weird shit I found in Antarctica, Geo. So I found the actual map that map is referencing, right? That comes from this guy named Eli Duke, who like goes to Antarctica all the time. And that's in the art gallery in the McMurdo station. That little painting there.
Yeah, that's crazy looking.
And then look at what he puts there. It said you should be there, and if you look at that map, that's where McMurdo Station is supposed to be, or Adamson Scott Station should be. It's very strange. And it says like a god is there. Do you see that?
Yeah, I'm trying to. This is like the bottom of a ball, kind of.
Yeah, but look at so I posted the actual map of what that is. See?
On the PDF.
Yep.
These are different ones.
No. So like, I was trying to find. I'm like, what the hell map is that? I got it from here. Here, I'll show you the Flickr page. See? The McMurdo
Yeah.
Alternative Art Gallery.
they have an art gallery in Antarctica.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
some
I mean that's
freaky art.
That's some wild art. Yeah, that's why I posted it.
What?
But Dave, so you think like the two poles are within? Okay, you said you're not sure if it's a hemisphere or not, but you think they're basically like in some kind of containment.
I don't know what. I have no idea, but there's good evidence to think that. It seems, yeah. We have to have a container for the air for the gas pressure, right? So some sort of container. I don't know what shape or how long or whatever the rest of that. It seems like something we could prove, or it seems like something that could be. I mean, we see it with sundogs, you know. I mean, all those kind of like lighting effects match firmament type structure. If that's where the you know, how else would you get that? It could just be like it's not your personal dome of vision that's causing that. You know what I'm saying? There has to be some kind of shape causing that. You'd think.
It's a trip that the sky is like a massive electric field. It's really amazing. It's just this
Yeah.
huge, like toroidal flowing electric field pattern. Whatever it is, like
Yep.
it's amazing how it links to the electrostatic, you know, an electric universe type stuff.
Yeah. It's such a perfect match that it's almost undeniable, and you'd think it'd be compelling for anyone, no matter what they think, that it could be that. You know.
What do you think's going on in Antarctica? Because like another thing with you know how with the two pole, like if you're at the North Pole, you can only go like one way to get to the South Pole. You know, like you couldn't really go north. Like you'd have to basically go south. Whereas on a globe, they claim you can go south from anywhere in the north and then get down to it. You know. So there's
Yep.
that question, and then there's also like, what do you think is going on in Antarctica? Like even that stuff Beast was just posting, like with this different like ancient lore and stuff. And how is that connected? Do you think to the two poles? Like, do you think they're hiding? Well, they're not really hiding on the globe model because they do say it's there, but the AE map kind of has a whole thing about it, I guess, when it stretches it around the
What they
outside.
have to consider, yeah, if it is the South Pole in Antarctica, that is one of the poles, right? And that's where the discharge happens that's where it's charging. It's charging up in the south, and then it discharges in the north. So that would be the charging station in Antarctica. And if it imagine it's like we're in Disney World, basically a Disney World that was literally built like mechanically somehow. Whatever's there, and it may be some kind of, if it was God, there's some kind of like force there coming from somewhere that makes the charging happen for the whole system. And then there's a theory that it's connected to a center charging station, and there's other dual pole ponds, in an array, like an electric array, that would work with Fibonacci, ratios, or the sacred geometry of it all is another theory E1 comes up with. That guy's fucking
Oh my
crazy.
gosh, infinite dual pole planes.
Yeah, like all connected, and like I think I showed it
Like
to you once, where the star
poles.
system would have to match. It would have to be like he put it. I'll post if anyone's interested in the pics that he drew out. But yeah, it was like the Nazi
Yeah, I
symbols
think I've
on
talked about that. Yeah, like if you had like a grid, the way you had like a circuit board or something, and if you just kept having poles, you would only be able to get between two of them at any one time because it's so massive. So you'd either you would be between pole 1 and 2, or you'd be between pole 2 and 3, or between 3 and 4. You know what I'm saying? Like you could only, because you couldn't really see like three of them basically if it's so stretched out. I mean, that's a pretty wild idea. Would it then be infinite? Would that go with an infinite plane idea? Or
Yeah, I mean, as far as infinite goes, it's just a word that describes, I guess, I mean, I just don't know how reality can be finite in a weird way. Not
you
that
don't
I'm
think
saying it
you
is.
don't think it's only two poles, like 24
I
hours?
have
I
no
don't
reason.
understand how reality could be infinite.
Well, I know it's just like it goes both ways. Both are hard to imagine in a certain, perspective. It depends on how you think about it. But if there was a limit to reality, what would the end of it look like? How could you physically describe the end of this reality? What would that look like? I mean, if it was a firmament type end to it, then what's on the other side of that firmament? If it's an actual structure, was there anything else in reality? Was there like a
Non-existent.
non-reality, a non-existence? Is a non-existence even possible? I mean, that's actually describing a non-existent place as a place, which it couldn't be because it can't exist in space.
There is
in time.
nothing. It's literally not. It's non-dimensional, non-existent. That's what they call the.
But
the
if you get to the end,
What about the
you get to
water? The waters that
Wait.
transition into counter space, if you want to use that term. But like, what about just
Well,
it
yeah,
being
I'm just
liquid?
asking. Like, can you even imagine what the barrier between reality and non-reality would be?
There
or
wouldn't be a
how would
there
we
wouldn't
know?
be a barrier. There wouldn't be a barrier. There would be like
How couldn't there?
Would it just
How couldn't there
transition to non-physicality, and then you'd
Well,
have to
I'm
be in, like, for lack
trying
of
to
better,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
be in God mode to
Unless
see it?
it's infinite. Unless it's infinite, there has to be a point where you would reach the end of the finite reality.
No, not
This is-
necessarily. You ever played Mario Brothers? Dude? When you go it's like Pac-Man or Mario Brothers or a Mobius strip,
Okay.
where you have what seems to be infinite isn't truly infinite. It just wraps around itself. So like,
Well, that's a concept. A Mobius strip's a good one, for as far as like you just keep like, you wouldn't know you're on the inside and the outside at the same time, so there'd never be an ending. But that's not the way our reality doesn't seem to be a Mobius. There's no proof of a Mobius strip reality necessarily.
Hey, are you saying
But
Earth is
it
a
wasn't
Mobius
infinite.
strip? Earth is a Mobius strip? Is that what was
Yeah,
said?
well, the reality is a Mobius strip in some way. I get what you're saying.
reality is
that like
it is fractal.
But is that like for the Pac-Man thing? It would be a Mobius strip instead of Pac-Maning, or no? Is that what you're relating it to? Like an infinite plane that would keep Mobius stripping? Like it would,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
would
that's
loop around like a globe, but actually be a Mobius strip? I don't know. I'm just like thinking of those ideas.
But if it is
No,
finite reality, there has to be a place where there's an edge of some sort, right? If it's finite.
What if you just can't get there though? It's so cold and brutal that you can only go so far, and it's just like so lifeless. And what if you could never get to the edge, but there might be one, but you just can't physically get there? What about that?
Hypothetically, you don't need a.
If you could
That's
get
what I'm trying
there,
to. That's why I brought. Dude, hold on, Dave.
Go ahead.
That's why I brought up the Mobius strip, because it would still be finite. It would seem infinite because there's no physical edge. It just wraps around itself. Reality wraps
It's a
around
cool
itself.
concept, but why would you think it would be that way?
Because reality had a beginning, right? And it's just, there's calculus that you can actually use to solve this. It's like this idea of the what's that paradox called, the when you shoot an arrow, if reality is truly infinite, the arrow would never reach the target. What's that paradox called? I know you guys know that. I just can't remember right now.
I forget.
Could I address something
Hold on.
the Asticles put in the chat that you talked about just earlier?
Can anybody think of that paradox?
What paradox?
The paradox where the arrow never reaches the target.
Ooh.
There's an infinite amount of space between point A and point B.
Mathematical subdivision paradox.
Yeah. That's something to do with you can't divide a thing anymore, a distance anymore.
Oh yeah, you're talking about the thing where you can always go halfway there. That's just
Yeah.
More like mathematical masturbation when you talk about that.
Xenos, bro.
Xenos
we just went over this yesterday, 2 days ago.
I forget. So this is the thing, dude. Like, there's a convergence point, right? Both subatomically, reality necessitates that there's a fundamental foundation, right? Because to construct it, if reality has a beginning, right, it has to start from somewhere. It can't be infinite. Both at the convergence point when you go down to like the Planck level, but also in time. Like historically, there was a beginning.
I don't think that it's hard to think that there would be a beginning if matter can't be created or destroyed. It almost seems like that it's perpetual in some way. Maybe there's cycles that seem like the ending and the beginning to a certain form, but all of the matter that's here in some form or another should have been here. I guess indefinitely backwards and forwards, just because there's no proof that there is a beginning. Except for the entropy idea, where because it's breaking down, that it can't, that it had to have a beginning because there would be an end. But then what would the end look like? Does matter disappear Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make any sense to think. I mean, we
Well,
could do a supernatural explanation for the beginning, but other
we
than
can
that,
talk about it. No, we
might as
can
well
talk
assume
about it.
that
But it's not a problem because reality, right, was our reality that we see, the world that we see, our existence had a beginning, had a creator, create it, right? So something external from it had to bring it forth,
maybe.
right? So when you say,
I don't know. I don't
it
know if
doesn't
it would
mean
have.
matter doesn't have to be the it's the first law of thermodynamics. I think matter cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be
Right.
transformed, right?
Right.
So yeah, that's not a problem, dude. This reality having a beginning, that's not a problem because an external source, a supernatural metaphysical source, external from it, had to bring it forth. Otherwise, it would violate the law of causality if it just came into existence on its own, right? With no external force, that would not only would that violate the first law of thermodynamics, it would also violate, I think, the first law of motion, Newton's law of motion.
Well, but in both scenarios there, you're assuming there's a beginning. I'm saying if there is a beginning to all of reality, then yeah, supernatural force is a possible explanation, even though it's not, I don't think it's necessary. If it was always here, it's just another formation and just somehow if everything is God, right? Like if there's no outside God, not to say there isn't, but if there wasn't, and God is everything, right? Which is a supernatural force on its own anyway. Like everything's supernatural to a certain extent because it's all God. Like, not only is there one God, everything is God. And I'm not saying pantheistic like dogma necessarily. Well, it can be considered that, but I'm not saying there is no God.
That would also violate
I'm not saying there is no outside God. I'm not saying there is no outside God or even trying to argue philosophically about that. I'm just saying that there's these two possibilities, and if God is everything and that intelligence is within everything, and there's an outside God, that's fine too. I'm not even trying to argue whether there is or not.
That's violate the law of non-contradiction.
It's not even about theology. It's more about reality. Seems like perpetual, and there's cycles to it. That's all we can observe. We don't have evidence of a beginning, even though we can reason that there should be or would be or
that's just not true.
The law is actually,
none of that stuff is true, bro.
If the first law is true, it can't be created, right? That's a law. Now, if you want to say that's not true in certain circumstances, that's fine. But as far as we know, energy cannot be created or destroyed in this world. That's all we know.
This reality could still have been created, right? And the matter didn't come from nothing, right? The energy didn't come from nothing.
That's not possible in this world.
Hold on, dude. Hold on, dude. I'm trying to explain it to you, bro. Because everything that you just said was incoherent. No offense. I'm trying to explain to you why, right? So
you didn't understand?
The energy that was used to create this reality came from somewhere. It didn't just come from nothing. It came from the creator who existed external from this reality. It can't be this reality, right? Because then you're basically, and you can't have this reality be God and God be external from it, because they would violate the law of identity and the law of non-contradiction, right? Because right, you can't conflate you can't hold on, dude. You can't conflate the creator with the creation, right? Then you violate the law of identity and the law of non-contradiction, and you can't have the creation, right, be God because it has a beginning, right? God has no beginning. The creation has the beginning, and we do have plenty of evidence for that. Not just the law of thermodynamics, right?
I'm not even trying to argue for this. I'm just saying, as far as in this
it's just too much. It's going over your head, dude. I already know it's going over your head. I can't get deep into it because you're not receptive.
I'm not even trying to argue with you. I have to go. I'm not even trying to argue right now. I have to go. But I was just going to say, as far as this world goes, you agree that matter can't be destroyed or created in this world that we know of, right?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, that's all we know. We know about another world. That's another theory. But as far as in this world, that's all we can know. So
but that doesn't mean that just because
all of reality.
But that law doesn't negate that our reality had a beginning.
I'm not even trying to say it doesn't. I'm not even trying to argue. I have to go. But I'm just putting that out there as like that's an option if that's all we know this world does. Who knows? We can't say for sure that there's an ending to reality as well. With the whole I can't even imagine what a barrier between reality and non-reality would look like. I don't know if anyone can. If we can't imagine it, why would we assume there is one? I gotta go.
Okay,
peace out, Dave.
I would like to pick up on Biasticle's picture sharing of that demonic painting in the Antarctic,
Go ahead.
Antarctic. Yeah, so I'm sharing my screen. I'll show you some guys. Wrong? Should it be something else?
No. It's just a huge scale for most maps are like 1 to 100,000 or 1 to 1 million, but 1 to 100 million is huge. Like, I don't know why. What's the point of it showing this? And then if you look in the top, it says the ocean temperatures. Antarctic convergence, surface temperatures of the world ocean for February, line spread at 5 degrees centigrade after plate 3A. It's from 1961, Physical Oceanography, Albert Defont.
I think that answers why that one part of the ocean was white.
Yep, maybe. Freaking love maps, though.
And this is 1 to 40 million.
Right. And then look at that area where it says there's a god. Zoom in.
What's around here? Polar subglacial basin.
Yeah. What is that thing? It's what's that called? Wilkes subglacial basin. Like that. What's a subglacial basin? Glacial basin.
It doesn't look fully mapped. Like it looks like they began and these left out areas they haven't put in. So it's incomplete. Or this is an underground what? Is it something beneath the ice?
Mm-hmm.
It's a hole in the middle that connects the north and south. It's like a portal.
Yeah, if you look at a subglacial basin and what it describes, it says it's a closed topographic depression located beneath a massive ice sheet or glacier. 3 basins often sit below sea level and hold a vast hidden network of pressurized liquid water, rivers, and subglacial lakes. I don't know. I haven't found any more information about that area, really.
Okay, so if we ask to remote sensing techniques. So they're using radar. Doesn't mean that they've been there. They suspect. Detected using cryostat satellite.
Says they discover a massive structure in the subglacial basin. It's like linking me to a whole bunch of like Sumerian stuff.
Yeah, what if there was a huge underground city that they've uncovered and then they've taken over? Like if they found something like that, then they would just like try to like basically rehabilitate it and build it all up. If it was some huge underground region in Antarctica, I think that's possible, or in the range of possibilities.
I don't know, it's so weird. See, look. Ancient landscape preserved discovered underneath frozen continent. I want to see an actual picture.
Raised white flag of the and if they said raised beat dollar, that was something to get to them. Only words couple of dollars, not all that. But
I'm trying to find a picture of it.
Also, what about the theory that they have like massive data centers under the ice? What do you think of that?
Yep, that was depicted in Pantheon, that show.
Seems like a good place for them. They're giving off a lot of heat.
Yeah, all you have to do is just pipe in air from the outside. You'd have like the best cooling system possible, it seems like.
Well, the way of detection is, they say, radio echo sounding. An aircraft flies over an ice emitting radar waves to penetrate the bedrock and reflect back. Gravity measurement. Satellite gravity instruments detects variation in Earth's gravitational field, supposedly revealing underlying bedrock structure and basin boundaries. Well, the equipment or the methodology could be named something, and it doesn't necessarily work with how we think of it by the naming. And then next one is magnetic data, measures magnetic field variations from crustal rocks, which is it reveals geological boundaries and fault control basins. And then seismic information, sound waves travel through ice, bedrock, revealing structure like crust, lithosphere models, and deep tectonic processes. And lastly, a satellite or radar altimetry measures tiny ice surface height changes over time, reveals active subglacial lakes, filling, draining surfaces, rises, falls. Okay. So the standard is the airborne radio echo sounding, or RES. This is the preferred methodology for detection. This says that the reason to that is it was able to detect the subglacial lakes in 1960s, and it's the gold standard.
Hey, this is kind of related, but I just thought of this. You think they would let you ever launch a balloon from like Union Glacier? So like you know how those guys did the drone? You think they would let you launch an actual balloon? That would be pretty amazing to see. Like 120,000 feet from Union Glacier.
Maybe if you tell them it's for globe weather research, they might not give you a hard time.
Yeah.
You're talking about in Antarctica?
Yeah, at like 80 degrees, like where they went. They instead of just doing a drone, if they put up like I don't know if they'd let you do that. They let those guys do the drone, but would they really let you get like 120,000 feet at 80 degrees? I'm just saying, like, it'd be good to get like a better look of Antarctica, than what we currently have, like a higher altitude view.
Here it says, satellite images and airborne radio echo sounding have been used to identify flat regions on the ice sheet surface. These flat areas have subglacial lakes beneath them. Radio echo sounding works by emitting a radio wave from an aeroplane. This is reflected off contrasting boundaries such as air, ice, ice water, ice sediment, and this radio wave is then received by the aeroplane and yields ice thickness data to within 1.5% accuracy. These aeroplanes emit radio waves regularly, obtaining cross-sections of the ice sheet. Up to 280 lakes have been now identified using radio echo sounding mostly under the plateau of the East Antarctic ice sheet. So, as you can see here in the image.
Oh yeah, you know how they call it Dome C?
Yeah, and I can see here, like look at the lines here. It's very poorly generated. Like it's stitched together. Here's a line crossing. Here's another
Oh, dude,
line.
one night we were just looking on Google Maps, but we also looked at a few other ones too. It is all stitched together. We went through it one night. It was just an absolute riot looking at all the hacks and cuts and overlays. It's like things were clearly cut out and moved all over the place. And then it would go to kind of like a synthetic layer of like fake looking snow. And then there'd be another region where there was clearly activity, but it'd be half cut out and all moved around. It was wild. It's so disjointed what they give us.
Yeah, I'm trying to. So here's an image. This apparently is a detection. So this is what they look at to confirm that they have a. But how do they now understand that this is like a lake and not something else? Like, do they actually dig down and locate these lakes, or do they just have like this difference in reading, and then they because I can tell that, you know, up here, this is like a computer model, or the image is there's some translation in the software. Let me see if I can find the right word here. From Modis, okay.
Credit NASA. You can't skip that. They're crediting NASA right there. So we're going straight up NASA Antarctica right now.
So this is a moderate resolution imaging spectroradiometer. It's called MODIS that took this picture. So this is a NASA satellite that captures images of the Earth's entire surface every 1 to 2 days across 36 different wavelengths or spectral bands. And it works by satellite, 2 MODIS sensors, one on Terra, launched 1999. Orbits in the morning, and one on Aqua, launched in 2002, orbits afternoon. So we can read about it here. Oh, it has their own webpage, modis.gsfc.nasa.gov/about. This is a lot to read into. A MODIS brochure.
Wow, that's so nice of NASA. I mean, you know, they go to outer space, they map Antarctica. Wow. What a government.
I think they've drilled down to quite a few of these subglacial lakes as well. Several hundreds of them, in fact. So they could probably compare the measurements to what they find as they drill down.
Do you trust NASA's mapping of Antarctica, Stefan?
if I trust NASA doing what in Antarctica? The map or the radar or the subglacial map they made, or
Yeah, this whole thing. Yeah, the technology they're using from satellites and their claim of how they're mapping Antarctica. That what he's showing. Do you trust that they're doing it accurately, and do you trust them doing this?
well, did they do that by plane as flying over as well? So if they do that by plane as well, then you have, and they're quite similar. Well, why not? Unless of course both of them are lying.
I think that was a really roundabout way of saying yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably. I mean, if you go and look at all the so-called science and the drilling they do, and ice core samples, and all the what is that 55, 60 different scientific bases in the Antarctic area. You start that up. I mean, my neighbor, there's this girl. She lives about 300 meters from me, Marta Brandefuhr. She skied across the ice to the South Pole in 23. Yeah, it seems like when you start adding it all up, it starts to look reasonable.
So here you can see that it's clearly the software. It scans and then it translates it into an image. Download the MODIS tile using Python, requests with authentication workflow. This is load data from MODIS UDA HDF using RAS stereo to iterate layers and extract spectral bands. Transform spectral bands by stacking it into an n-dimensional array and masking no data values. Plot bands including RGB visualization, write to GeoTIFF by updating metadata. Let's see.
Wow, that is a wormhole of processes.
Yeah. This is what I've been trying to when I've been around these places to explain that all of this has to go through software heavy rewriting, and then what are you left with? Is it really an image? What is it exactly? It's the same thing with this. Not trying to change the topic here, but Lucifer. Wow, binoculars. A large binocular telescope, this one. I downloaded the software and the pictures taken from it, and it's pretty much just like pictures of its space, it says, but when I look at the pictures, I don't see anything. Like if you download anything from the file repository that they give you that is publicly available, you have to really look and try and find it. It's very difficult to find if you don't know how to track it down. And once you find it, you can download it. Like, they have a really bad system that makes it difficult to figure out how to work it. But once you do, you can get download their files. And when you open them in a program you have to download, that when you install, just suddenly runs the terminal. I have no idea what else could be installed with it. Now you suddenly have supposedly access to viewing the images. But when you do, it's just like... I can show you after if you guys would like to see. It doesn't give me any images of space or anything. At least not from the collection of files that I downloaded. It's just like a complete... I put it in the chat yesterday. I can just quickly show that picture. Yeah, here's an image that I looked at using the software. It's called DS9. So this is a picture that it took. Like, tell me, how do you see space in this image?
But isn't that the stereo telescope mainly for studying the sun and not space?
Well, what is this? Well, what am I looking at?
So
Everything
What
the
is
stereo
that?
telescope is for studying the sun.
But exactly what is this? 2x quartz lamp. Maybe this thing can analyze it for me.
It's like a metallic gradient. I don't know.
Looks like the inside of the studio. Little backdrop. A silver screen instead of a green screen.
It looks like some coins stacked on top of each other.
I'll see if I can retrack down that particle, but this is on Wikipedia. It even shows how to do it. But try to figure out what this exactly is. So I'm not seeing study stars and planets beyond our solar system here. Like detect exoplanets, get high resolution images of faint objects like galaxies. Okay. Survey exozodiacal dust in habitable zones of nearby. I feel like it's a lot of fancy words to get money to create something that doesn't really do anything. Like we go into this and we look at their webpage. They have like 6 uploaded pictures. About media. It's just like production in a facility, no images, then a 3D thing. Some wipe videos of production. Like where are the photos and logos? Okay, so some illustrations on some magazine covers. This can easily like what is this? And here's just production images again. It's like no images. Where are the beautiful images?
Well, maybe those posters. If you zoom into, yeah, those are probably taken from it. Those few galaxy things, nebulas.
This all looks translated in software. Well, I'm not finding these pictures when I try to use them.
You're saying the original are those gradients you're showing, like the silver gradients, and then they turn that data into these.
Yeah, those right there.
Yeah. This is a typical picture that you get. Then they show you this.
Yeah, something like, well, go to one of those in the middle, like that one in the middle. Yeah, right there. It's probably similar to it. Is that?
I think that. Yeah, this is called. Let me see if I can retrace what this is.
It says it right there on the bottom. It says it's created by whatever. Composite image by. Huh.
Yeah, it does. It says composite image right here.
Yeah.
By D. Thompson et al. Like they're very open and honest about it. Infrared image, okay? Sure. The Lucy one, so it should be from that device that I've used, but as we have seen ourselves, this is the image that we're getting. So how does this with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bands give this image?
I got the images. The lady that took the images said, "This is amazing, but the planet Pluto has the shape of Pluto on it, the dog." And no one can verify it. No one can actually look at Pluto to see. We just have to believe them. Do you believe that? Do you believe that coincidence?
If you put your mind to it, I mean, pareidolia is prevalent among humans. So if you got like a shadow or a cloud, you know how that works. So maybe it could resemble it.
Yeah, but we don't know if Pluto even looks like that or not. Nobody has ever seen Pluto. No one.
Oh, either what do you call New Horizon went to Pluto or it didn't. Yeah.
New Horizon. Yeah, Hubble Space Telescope has never even captured Pluto. The only thing ever is the New Horizon.
Yeah, it's too far away. It's too small.
Pluto's also the god of death.
Yeah, god of the underworld. Yeah, weird, right? And the craziest part is, do you guys know what a plutocracy is?
No, what is that, like a death cult?
You realize Pluto's number 9, right?
Dude, plutocracy is a
No, it's
system
not.
in which the golden rule applies, which is whoever has the gold makes the rules.
That's because money replaced honey a long time ago.
Dude, it's too early, bro. Come on.
It's not too early for that.
Yo,
Money is
yo,
the
yo,
number one
yo.
evil that's trapping human minds and souls and emotions across the planet over eons.
Dude, if
Yo,
you put enough
you-
like symbols and sounds together, yeah, we get
Why
it.
don't you just fuck me in the fucking ass then?
Whoa.
Since you're talking about since you're talking about Hubble, there's since you're
I'm
talking
much
about
more
Hubble,
less a
you
faggot
know
than you
about
are. I've been married to a woman for 40
yo,
years, so I
yo, come on,
understand the
man.
man-woman relationship.
Yo, Appleye.
since you're talking
Yo,
about
Appleye.
Hubble, do you know about the Sophia?
Yo, come on,
You know
man.
about
Dude,
the
don't do this,
Sophia
dude. I'm sorry.
program,
I know you hear me talking. I'm trying to talk
dude?
to Apple. Apple Eye, do you think Earth is a planet?
Well, it's a disk where we live, but it's surrounded by a double torus field, so it looks like a sphere. So in a way, it's a planisphere.
Think it's a planet in deep space? Just wondering, bro, because if that's the
No,
case, right?
there is no deep space. The universe and Earth are all co-located. When we look up and see the vastness of the universe, we're actually looking at our past.
I just want you to consider, right? If the Earth is not a planet, then Pluto wouldn't be number 9, right?
I wasn't
Saturn
saying that.
wouldn't
I'm
be number
talking
6.
about real
Well, you
world here.
started off saying Pluto's number 9. Yeah, if Earth
I
is a
didn't
planet.
make it number 9. Y'all did. I'm just going
No, but
along with the
Lion,
ride.
if we go, there's actually a lot of wandering bodies out there. Like not only the things they call planets, like technically like things they call asteroids, but those are actually just still luminaries. They just call them asteroids, but they're just luminaries. Those are all wandering too. But anyways, Lion, it would still be number 9 in the speed at which they take to move between the tropics and to move through the whole zodiac of stars. You know how Pluto's like 243 years? It's like the longest. You know, so it's
How would
like
it be number 9? If we're talking about from the sun, right? Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Uranus.
right. But so they do it number 9, like in distance from a heliocentric sun. But what I'm saying is that if we just rank them in their speed, like just going like okay, like Jupiter is like 12 years. Saturn is I'm rounding them off. Saturn's 29.5, but let's call it 30 years. Saturn's 30 years. Uranus, the next one is 84 years. Neptune is 163 years, and Pluto is 243 years. See what I'm saying? So it's still in order of the actual speed at which it moves between the tropics. Basically, like a year for Pluto is the longest one, and you could say it's like, I mean, it would be more like number 8 though, because you wouldn't have the Earth in there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The Earth is 3 in their model.
You know how we observe Pluto, like amateur telescopes and stuff, is they just take pictures of the sky every night of the area where Pluto should be, and then they just have to look for the star that's missing and moving.
I think you can see it with a good telescope. You're saying you can't see Pluto? It's just very dim. You can see
You
it
can,
though.
s- you can. I didn't say you can't see it, dude. I just explained how you see it.
Okay, I thought you were saying it's not visible.
It's not like something that you're going to point your telescope out tonight and be like, yep, that's Pluto. It's something that you're going to take pictures of the sky where Pluto is over a sequence of nights, and then you're going to see which of those stars. It's very hard to pick out from the background stars, so you have to look to see which one's wandering, and that's how you would
You
determine
can't
that's
do it
Pluto.
with an amateur telescope. The amount of luminosity that Pluto gives off by the time Pluto's light gets to Earth, it's actually 10. It's like 10 watts, dude.
You can see it. You can see it with a telescope. It's not like someone could show you it tonight. They would have to like do a sequence of pictures and then be like, okay, yeah, this one is Pluto.
No, 60 watts. I meant 60 watts, like the equivalent of a regular light bulb. That's what you would have to look for in the sky. Is a 60-watt light bulb in the ocean
60
of
watts is a lot of
stars.
energy.
Why do you think
Well,
they're different brightnesses, Lion? Like, do you think they are farther up, like in the firmament or in the layers, that they are farther away, just not like millions of miles, or do you think they're dimmer for another reason, like Pluto being more dim than like Saturn, let's say?
I think they're dimmer for another reason. Not because they're somewhere farther away, but they're just somewhere just brighter, regardless of distance. They assume distance based off brightness, but I think they're all relatively the same distance from the Earth. They just some happen to be brighter than others.
Dude, that's so ridiculous. If they're going off, because you know they have like the standard candle and then the astronomical unit. But the standard candle is often that's one method they go by, like just the brightness of the star. What a crazy thing to think that like maybe these things are just different brightness for another reason, and they're just putting like a scale to it and being like, oh, if it's this bright, it's this far away. If it's that bright, it's that far away. But if that's all just made up and they have everybody believing that, that's pretty intense.
Well, they're assuming it's reflected light, right? Lumens. But since you were talking about Hubble a few minutes ago, what do you think of the Project Sophia? Has that taken any good pictures of Pluto?
Dude, what are the chances in 1930 that these guys name the planet Pluto? They create a dog. Like, this shows Disney and NASA are obviously in cahoots, like that they would name, the planet and the dog the same thing. And then 2015, dude. So 1930 to 2015, that's like 85 years or something. They look at it and Pluto the dog is on the planet, dude. He's on it.
I didn't think of it like that, like them working together.
All coincidences are born from circumstance. I guarantee you that. I've been studying this for decades.
Yeah, Disney and NASA were definitely.
No, I said that all coincidences are born from circumstances. Coincidences are not random events. They're part of a procession.
Yeah, they're all part of JPL, Walt Disney.
I'm not talking about JPL. I'm talking about life as a human being. All of our coincidences are born from circumstances.
Dude, the crazy thing too, you got 2015, they show you Pluto on the planet Pluto, right? Big joke they're playing on you. The next year, big orange man for president, dude. What kind of joke are they playing on you guys? On all of us.
He's actually born from German nobility, which is where all the Caesars were elected from German nobility in the second part of the Roman Empire. So they actually pulled their Caesars out of German nobility. And Drump's family, Drumph or F, is the German name of his family that came from Germany. He was selected to be president from German nobility. He's playing the role of Caesar for the Roman Empire.
Are you sure about
and the
that?
Club of Rome is the one who set up the first consultation manual to the UN.
The Caesars were Germanic? Since when?
I said the second half of the Roman Empire, all of the Caesars were selected from German nobility.
I just wanted to know if
It's a partnership between the Germans are Nordic.
I just want
from the north.
to know if
And
Stefan, like,
the
really
Romans partnered up with the northern people, the Nordics. So the Germans
I'm
linked to the Nordics.
I'm familiar with that. I've talked to SC Montreal about it. We've argued about it, but the Germanic lines only had control of Rome for like a century, if that. I mean, they had control of it. Like, there was okay, so you had the Vandalgoths and the Visigoths that were Germanic, that kind of, they terrorized Rome, right? That's where you got Vandals, right? Vandalism. And then eventually, the first few centuries after Christ, they were a problem.
You mean after Christianity was formed, or do you mean after Christ walked?
After Christianity. And then, like around the 5th, 6th century, the Germanic lines actually ended up taking control of Rome, but it didn't last long, dude. Before the Byzantine Empire was formed, they ended up taking control of it back took it from.
Well, when all that happened and the Rome fell, the power stakeholders of Rome, they didn't give up their knowledge or their power, because their power is their knowledge base. So they simply moved it all into the Vatican, into the HRC, the Holy Roman Church. And they've been operating as the masters of the world since then. They're still in charge.
I'm trying to remember. I know a lot of stuff happened later on, dude, like around the 12th century, 11th century, but
They
I
proved
know
it when
eventually the German lines did take over both England and Rome, but
yeah.
it wasn't so much later, and it was through marriage and stuff like the
Well,
House
what's
of Windsor.
interesting, what gets overlooked about Rome is you could put the word Hebrew right next to Rome because it's the same name, the same people, same entity. So Rome, Hebrew is the same thing. So England, Germany, it's all Roman Hebrew, and
I
it
don't know
all
about
taps
that.
back further back in time to Babylon.
I gotta look it up, dude. I'm driving. I can't right now, but I don't know when exactly like the House of Windsor became popular, and I don't know when exactly like the Germanic lines infiltrated, but there is evidence that they did, but I don't think that they completely took over like you think either.
Well,
It was
I
really
didn't
just
really
through
mean a
marriage.
takeover. It's actually fractured. The leadership of Rome was fractured into many parts, so it's not a head of a snake anymore unless you actually know what's going on, and you know it's the Vatican and whoever they answer to. But the
So
rest of
let's
the
just
power structure is spread out and fractured. They all take different names, but they're all in the same club, the same gang. They're actually posing in front of us and acting. They're after something that we have, that we own or possess or occupy. They're after something that we have. We're the highest resource. They're invaders.
I
so
mean,
what's
English is considered a Germanic tongue. Like all the Indo-European languages were basically considered Germanic. Dutch,
Well, did you know
Swedish,
that
or Finnish.
of all the Nordic states up there where they're known, their history is to have come from the north, the Nordic people. So of all the Nordic people today, at this time, only the German language still contains in daily use original Nordic tongue words. All the other ones in the other countries have been replaced with more modern versions of the words. So only Germany is the only language left that still has some of the original Nordic words they use in regular speech.
So,
was
do you think when do you think this takeover happened, roughly?
Well, it's been ongoing throughout human history for a lot more than the 12,000 years that we have history on. So it's been ongoing. But if you're a crime investigator, the criminals always leave clues around because they're not perfect. Nobody is. So
Well, you
whenever
think they've been
crimes
doing it for
occur,
longer?
there's always evidence laying around. So like there's things we can pick up, but like as you know from my study, you know I'm into language. Like I see that as a supernatural map that aggregates with us. So as we grow and progress along as a species, the language is progressing and growing right next to us. So that's like an easy map, but you know it wasn't easy until I did the work. So it wouldn't be easy for you. Like I spent 20 years studying language after spending 40 years wanting to know why I lived in a criminal world. So, I put a lot of time into it. But if you look at history, though, you can see that as the timeline progressed, and if you put it next to language, watch how language progresses, you can see that everything's being revealed. But at the same time, the language is being used to deceive. So, how are the hierarchies able to get away with this? Well, it's because they have no choice. They literally have to have the truth built into the lies, into the crimes. It's part of like the operating system of nature that we live in. Like everything's even Steven. And no matter how much willy nilly you put into the mix, there's an equal amount of even Steven right next to it. There's no way around it. So the operators or invaders who are here now, whether they're from our past and they're like us and they just lost their way, I don't know. But either way, they're our adversaries now. So
Who you
they don't
talking
have the
Did you
emotions
use
we
your
have.
intuition to figure this out?
about?
No, I used like 50,000 hours of research, writing, and rumination, and I had several really good teachers along the way also.
You didn't have to comprehend any of that information, you're saying? Because I asked you if you use your intuition in order to figure any of that. So you're saying, no, I
No,
didn't need to comprehend any of the information
I'm
that
bound.
anyone gave me.
Yeah, I'd like to answer that. I'm balancing my reasoning or logical
Yeah, I'd
side
love to
to
finish a
my.
sentence. Is it the case that when all that research and all the teachers you also had to comprehend what they were saying or not?
No, I didn't always comprehend what they were saying. Sometimes it took me years to understand what one teacher said of one thing. Sometimes it might have took decades for me to know what they meant.
Okay, so you used your comprehension. Yeah, so then you did
No,
eventually
I wanted to
comprehend it.
answer
So
that.
then
I wanted to
have you
answer that.
considered your comprehension to be wrong and insufficient?
It doesn't matter if I'm wrong or right. All I'm doing is sharing my living testimony. You can do what you want with the intel. You don't really have to assault me whatsoever. Just because I sound like I'm
Not an
confident
assault,
does not
dude.
give you an excuse to go after me.
It's
It's not an
funny.
assault, bro. It's not an assault. I'm looking for your justification for your
I'm
claims, and
trying
you
to
just said
answer in
they're
a simple.
arbitrarily retarded. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, you
That's what
can
you just
Yo, can
fucking
I
said.
ask
stab
him?
me all you fucking want, but if you try it, as you come toward
Ah,
me, you will fucking vaporize, you little fucking twit.
yo,
Now, I
yo,
balance my logic to my intuition, and that's how I come with solid answers that I can own, and
Okay,
I don't
cool.
have to
Yeah,
have
I
faith
use
in.
my cool, dude. I use my intuition too, and I came to the conclusion that I'm wrong and insufficient. Did you
And
not
I
come to
came
that
to the
conclusion with your
conclusion that I
intuition?
own the access of the universe inside me, which is the source of all answers to any question.
All right, you're God, bro.
I didn't say I was God. I own a piece of the axis of the universe granted to me,
Yeah,
and
you're
I'm
omniscient. We
personified
get
by
it,
the
dude.
creator of the universe. I have an obligation because
And
with
you're
great power
omniscient.
comes
We get
great
it, dude.
responsibility. And if you choose to ignore it, that's your peril, not mine.
Torah, if you don't ask the
Pluto
question,
a
you don't
dog.
get. If you
Pluto's a
don't
I
ask
didn't say I
dog.
questions, you
was
don't
God.
get
You
answers.
called me God. I'm a
no, you
little
said it
tiny
before,
ant
dude.
man, a little tiny speck manifestation
Hey,
of the
you just said you
universe.
have all the knowledge within you, bro. You said you're
Why does that
Seek,
omniscient, bro.
fucking
seek, and
bother
you
you
shall
so much,
find.
cunt?
That
If
implies you're
you
God.
don't, if you
Everybody's
don't
holding
seek,
the entire database of creation inside them. Every single one of us. None of us
Yeah,
is
yeah,
unequal.
yeah,
We're
dude. I
all
asked
equal
you
in
if you came to
power.
that
Every
conclusion.
last one of us.
Yeah, I asked you if you came to that conclusion through your comprehension. Because if I came to the conclusion through my comprehension that I'm wrong and retarded, and you came to the conclusion of this through your comprehension, am I wrong? If I came to the conclusion that
No,
I
you're
am
not wrong.
wrong, if
No, you're not
I
wrong. You're
that
not
I'm
wrong
wrong and
because
retarded, so
we're
I'm not
living in a
wrong and
creation.
retarded, or
You're
I
not
am wrong and
wrong.
retarded.
Okay,
Which
you're not.
one?
No, you're not wrong coming to conclusions because all of us are unique and able to create and bend reality. So we're living in a world of variety where each of us can self-assemble and aggregate our experiences and our relationships into a unique reality. And this is a shared experience that we're having where each of us is building a unique reality, but we're doing it together as a community.
you're
Okay, yeah,
allowed to
but I
come to
used my
any
intuition and I
conclusion.
came to the conclusion that I'm wrong and like slowed or delayed
Well,
or hindered.
that's your truth. If you come to any conclusion, you can rest on that. But
Okay, hold on.
always,
Can I
but hang on,
repeat? You're not
let me finish what I'm
understanding
saying.
the
Let me
claim.
finish what I'm saying, for fuck's sake. You can come to any conclusion that you will, so long as you question it and you are open to the possibility that you may be wrong. But if you rest on the conclusion that you are wrong, what will you ever achieve? Why bother trying? That's
Wait,
what
wait.
you're saying.
Are you confirming that I'm right about my conclusion, even though I'm telling you I'm wrong?
You can question anything you want. If you put your
Yeah,
will
but do you
into it,
see how
you
you
are
just
able to
self?
find
Do you
truth.
see, dude? Do you see how this is self-refuting? Do you not understand what I'm doing here? So if I use my comprehension, I ask myself, how do I know what I know? And I look deep, and then I realize that I am wrong and insufficient. Okay, do you have a
No, you
rebuttal?
look for the no. No, you look for the good things, the good, the true, and the beautiful. If you can find that, that's within nature. It's within you.
Okay, dude, I'm wrong and insufficient. That's what I found out about myself, right? I am wrong and
That's what you want to
insufficient.
think.
Do you
Then
agree or
think it. But it's
disagree?
a self-limiting belief.
The earth is flat, though?
Yeah, done.
Better luck next time.
I tried to say earlier.
Insufficient?
No,
Oh, okay. How'd you come to the conclusion then that you were right and not insufficient?
in regards to what?
Into your intuition.
No, my intuition is it's always been right.
It's always been right every single time. You've never been wrong. Your intuition's always right. That's amazing.
Your body will tell you when your mind is wrong.
Okay, cool. Is the Earth a globe or flat?
I don't claim to know. I think
Oh,
it
okay,
may
so
be
your
flat.
intuition's not leading
I'm
you
open to.
anywhere there, huh?
Well, I mean, my intuition tells me that it's flat, but I don't claim that to be true.
Okay, is
I
it? Oh, okay, so you don't. So I thought you said your intuition's always been right. So wouldn't it be the case that the Earth is flat? Huh?
Yeah, done.
Better luck next time.
I tried to say earlier, you can balance your logic reasonable side to your your calculating side, to your intuitive side, which mainly wants fairness. The reason your intuition is based in fairness is because intuition is connected to your emotional self. It's almost saying the same thing, your intuition side, your emotional side. And the reason intuition is based in fairness is because emotions are based in essence. So when you're born pure and you don't really have emotions. You don't have any judgment. You're happy about everything. You just have one emotion,
That's
pure
like complete
bliss.
word
Now,
salad,
wait,
bro.
let me finish my point,
Hold on.
please. Let me finish my point before you interrupt me. So I'm almost done. So intuition is based in fairness because emotions are based in essence. And this is why we can use our intuition as a balance point against our logic. If we can, in the center of those two places between logic and intuition, find agreement, then we own a winner.
Okay, cool.
So
You're equivocating the
your
word intuition. Oh, go ahead, Pure Rigor. Sorry.
you're just saying now you are your emotions. If you say your emotions are based in your essence, then that's all you're just word salad in at this point.
That's your essential attributes. Yeah,
Actually,
it's crazy,
emotion is
dude.
an
Okay, this
acronym.
is it. Real quick, brother. You're equivocating on the word intuition. Okay, so I'm going to use a different word because you didn't get my point. I used my comprehension and came to the conclusion that I'm wrong and foolish and absurd.
Well, maybe
Okay,
you're out of
do you have
balance.
a
Maybe you're out
rebuttal?
of balance. You could be out of balance and tilted toward your logical side and not
Oh,
giving enough
dude.
weight and power to your intuition side.
Dude, then you would be declaring I'm right. Do you not even get it? Okay, if I take
I
my
already said you were
comprehension
right.
and I come to the conclusion that I'm wrong and absurd, and then you go, maybe you're out of balance or something, then you're saying
I was
maybe I'm
trying to
right
be
about my
nice, yo.
conclusion that I'm wrong?
No, I was trying to be nice, but I agree that you're right. Whatever reality you create, whoever you are, wherever you are, if you create a reality, that's your reality, and that's right for
You
you at
agree
that
that
moment.
I'm right, that I'm wrong and absurd?
No, I agree. Whatever reality you created is your reality, and you own it.
Yo, Apple,
No, dude,
I gotta ask you a question real quick, dude. Did your wife teach you this stuff? Be honest.
Did my wife teach me this stuff?
Yeah.
My relationship with my wife helped me to understand things because we traded our deepest secrets with each other.
Did she lead you though when it comes to this stuff?
No, I'm the leader. I've always been the hero.
Nah, because I heard her chip in one time when we were arguing.
She loves to contribute. She really does want to speak
She
up.
was like,
She's
she
right
was
here
trying to
next.
set you straight.
No, she wasn't
You
trying
know,
to
She said
set me straight. She wasn't
she
trying to
set you
set me
straight,
straight.
doesn't she?
Yeah,
No,
she
dude, 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 dude.
we're
Can I just
exactly even. We're exactly even in every regard, in every category. Never we agree on everything.
I'm gonna
we were
explain this
talking.
to you a
We
little
were
more
talking about
basic.
before about
Toro,
the
what is the
emotion.
thing that what is the thing you're saying you were wrong about? Is it something in particular, or because you're asking him to
No,
like
just
confirm
me.
it, but does he know what the topic is that you're saying was
We're
absurd?
talking about personally created
This is
realities. This is
pointing.
the topic.
No, 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 no. I'm pointing out a huge contradiction in worldviews here. Okay. So I use my comprehension. Okay. That's the thing that's in contention, my comprehension. In order for you to understand all these sentences, it's your comprehension. Okay. The words on paper don't mean anything, they're just symbols. Okay. So you need comprehension to understand things. Like if you read on a menu grilled chicken, those are just words and symbols. There's something very meaningful behind that, a concept behind it. Well, I use my comprehension to figure out things, and I figured out that I'm wrong and absurd. Do you guys agree?
You keep repeating that, dude.
Well,
Look
if
at
you
Robert
want my
Anton
personal
Wilson.
opinion, you are perfect in every possible way, and you're simply having fun creating alternate realities. As far as I'm concerned, you're perfect.
Okay, this
What
is
are,
the
what are you
point of
even
my
saying
statement.
though?
The point of my statement of being wrong and absurd means my comprehension is not just my own, influenced by me. If I could come to the conclusion that I'm wrong and absurd, and people could go, oh, you might be right about that, then therefore it can't be me that came to that conclusion that I'm wrong if I'm right.
You got to stop with all this projection. What was being said, right, is that the psychosomatic emotional intelligence informs your will, which in turn informs your comprehension. If you don't want to comprehend something, you won't.
I comprehend things. I do comprehend things, and what I notice is my comprehension can be wrong and absurd.
Yeah, I've noticed that. I know, and I understand there's a mind, body, gut connection, right, and heart, and they're finding that the gut is actually a lot more connected to the mind than one would think or understand. But at the same time, like sometimes my feelings, I believe, are in line with the creator's will, right? And the mind is not. And sometimes the mind is in line with the creator's will and my feelings are not, right? So it's weird. Like that shows that you can't ultimately trust your own comprehension or your own feelings. That's why there's emotional reasoning isn't reliable. It's actually considered a fallacy to appeal to emotion without using comprehension, right? So like if you just appeal to emotions consistently without actually thinking it through, that's when people start, that's when people get mad and then they say things they didn't mean, right? Because they didn't think it through. So you can't just rely on emotion to go ahead.
Well,
Go ahead.
if you're saying you can't trust your, hold on, let me jump. If you're saying you can't trust your own judgment, how do you trust your judgment to have your faith and belief in the first place?
I can trust my judgment because my judgment, my comprehension has told me that I'm wrong and inferior.
You keep
So that
projecting
therefore I
You can
can. If you
trust
haven't
that.
come to
You
that
can trust that to
conclusion,
like. You can trust
if
that
you
to
haven't come,
interpret what the true God is. Let's say, like you feel like you can trust yourself for that, but then you can't trust yourself in other ways. Like you're not supposed to lean on your
no,
own understanding, because you are leaning on
dude,
your understanding to have your worldview, right? Like ultimately.
the understanding that I'm wrong and retarded.
Well, that's
Well, I
a
was kind of
belief, and it's a
responding to
self-limiting
what Mine
belief.
was saying, but I know you keep saying that. I don't know what you're saying it wrong about, so I can't really like confirm or deny.
My comprehension skills are wrong. I look at pizza and I say I'm gonna eat the whole thing. Then I actually do it. My experiential knowledge is different from my comprehension.
Appealing to emotion and being neurotic isn't a good trait to have, right? That's why you got to sometimes calm down. Don't easily give in to emotions. Emotional reasoning can be unreliable for obvious reasons, right? So this guy's saying that his emotions are what set him straight.
Yeah, I mean, it's what I said. I said that emotion informs will, not controls it or makes
He
conclusions.
just said
It
he had a
informs.
balance between his reasoning mind and his intuition.
The point being is that in order to find out truth, there's a specific task to be done. There's specific
Can I,
equations to be followed
can I
in order to find
interject
truth. And if you're just if you're
about
no,
comprehension?
real quick, let me just finish this. So the point being is
Okay.
a ton of people in the world can come to the conclusion about something without talking to each other, and then when they get together, they all have the same answer. So a ton of people come together and they're like, yeah, 1 + 1 = 2. And they all agreed upon that. They didn't come up with that based on their own comprehension. They used experiential
Yes, I did. You don't need
knowledge as
consensus
well.
to
Our
learn
Or
biology
something.
comprehension.
offers a
Okay,
mimicry
sorry
function
guys. Have a
to
good
each
day.
other. But, our biology offers a mimicry function so that we kind of look at each other to see, how to grow, how to do things. But I wanted to interject about the word comprehension, because when we're on the way to the restaurant to order that chicken sandwich, when we're visualizing the chicken sandwich in our head, we're also visualizing words that are going to be on the menu when we get to the store. So we actually create realities as a tandem or a partnership between our emotional ideas and our precise focus on the words, the letters, and the symbols. So there is a direct correlation and partnership between the words on the page. So they're not insignificant. They're actually very powerful. So when we mix our emotion to precise focus with the words, the symbols, that's when we can alter reality and cause actions. And that's where comprehension builds from. There's a lot of studies out there. There's a lot of studies out there that prove, I mean, not prove, that back up what I just said. So there's a lot of studies out there about how reality is formed. And there's a lot of these thinkers who agree that the mixing of an emotional idea with the precise focus of the words and symbols causes a direct energy altering of reality, because it causes your values to change. It causes your actions to change. It causes your attentions to change. And this places you in locations and circumstances. It's basically the cause of your reality is mixing your ideas with precise focus of the words, the symbols, and the sounds.
I don't know, man. That whole emotions is your essence. It just doesn't sit right. It just doesn't even make any sense to say the way you are feeling right now is like
That's your soul.
literally defines you.
Well, no, well,
So
there
if
is
you're
there's
mad,
truth
it's like
to that.
you
Though.
are just anger.
Well, no, emotions are connected to your essence, like what it is to be a human being. Your emotions are part of that. The transcendental part of who you are, your essence.
It's part of your experience.
But I'm just trying to make the point that you can't appeal to emotion for logic, for reasoning. You need to back it up with something that's like grounded in truth, and you can't look within yourself for that. Ultimately, because we're corrupt, we're absurd, we're retarded, right? We make mistakes on a regular basis. And I was talking to Roots the other day. God bless Roots. I'm not trying to say that, but he thinks that nature is the ultimate standard for moral objectivity, right? And because if the thing is, both nature, right, and your emotions are unreliable, dude. So where can we look to for ultimate truth, right? Is it within ourselves? Is it out in the world? Is it in nature? Where are we going to find this? Well, this is basically what it is, because they're saying that we can find truth within ourselves if we just use our emotions, or if we listen to our emotions. If that was the case, I mean, dude, vegans are convicted. I use this all the time. Vegans are convicted for eating meat, right? Does that mean that eating meat is evil or wrong?
Good word. Okay, so Lion gets the point. Okay, everyone in here agrees man is fallible. But then when I tell you my comprehension has came to the conclusion I'm fallible, everyone for some reason has a hard time understanding what I'm saying. Does everyone agree man is fallible or
Trying to
not?
project it and paste it onto everybody
Yes,
else.
sir.
I don't
Yes, sir.
Okay, if it is the case that man is fallible, how did you come to the conclusion that man is fallible? What are you measuring against to know that you're fallible?
You can be different. You can change.
What are you measuring against to know that you are fallible, sir?
Yeah, just in reply to Zion, right?
Perfection.
Your emotions are a barometer for many things that you're experiencing. And if you can be good at controlling your emotions and not being reactive, you can use this barometer to come to insights by questioning.
And now you're not
Have
fallible?
you ever seen kinesiology in action? That's some pretty
Dude,
freaky
and
stuff.
does that make you not fallible?
Everybody has a possibility of being fallible.
Okay, then how do you know? What are you measuring against to prove that you are fallible?
Can we go
You
back
measure it
to
against the world and nature.
You're measuring against perfection and righteousness.
That's what I said.
All right.
Can we
So
go
if
back
it
to
is the
essence?
case that there is perfection and righteousness as a concept, where does that exist in reality?
A perfect sphere.
It's in the heart of all beings, right? We are a
The
reflection.
infallibility is in the heart of all the fallible beings.
What infallibility?
The perfect, right? The thing that you're in order to know something is fallible, you have to know the concept of infallible. Would you agree?
It's a non sequitur.
It's not. It completely follows from the argument. The argument has been about fallibility. What are you talking
you're going to
about?
look
How does that not follow
Well,
from the argument?
How do you point at something and say that is infallible?
Hold on.
By
Do you
what
know what
standard?
non sequitur means before I
Yes,
continue
it doesn't.
engaging with
Non
you?
sequitur means doesn't follow. What I'm saying
Okay.
is, if you're
Okay.
going to
So
point
now
at
you're
something and
going to,
say
you
that's
claimed a
infallible,
non
what is
sequitur. So now you're going to need to present why it doesn't follow in
what
order to
are the
know what
principles?
fallibility is. You would have
What?
to understand what infallibility is.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking you the question. What are the principles? What can you point to and say those are the aspects that would denote infallibility? You can't
Everyone
define it.
knows what infallibility is, what the ultimate thing is that is infallible. In order to know what a curved line is, you don't compare it to other curved lines. You compare it to a straight line. Everyone knows that an actual perfectly straight horizontal line doesn't exist in reality, but it exists within your mind. If you come to the conclusion that you're fallible within your own mind, therefore all those infallible things are not a product of your mind because your mind
Well,
is
I
fallible.
want to have a
So
decent
therefore there
conversation
is
with
an
good people. I
infallible
don't want to
mind
be
that is
listening to your
connected with
absurdist
you
takes on
in the
everything.
dude.
You're an absurdist. You're an idiot. Shut up.
Dude, you didn't even let me get to the conclusion of the argument. I'm not an absurdist. I'm giving you an
Yeah.
option to know things, and you don't want the justification of how you can know things, okay?
How
Can we
can
go
you know
back
that
to
something's
essence?
totally infallible? Go ahead. Tell me the principle.
Because, there's rapists that say they do it out of love. You know that, right?
I want to know what love is.
Isn't there a Benny Benassi song?
So if there's rapists that do the things out of love, or like child attracted people that say they do it out of love, then it's okay. Is that correct?
I'm not going to take any of your projections. I'm done with the conversation.
You're done.
I
Yeah,
want you to show me.
I actually, that song came out right after I watched my mother die in a hospital bed from Foreigner. And I've always wondered what love is. But the word love is three phonemes, three sounds. The L sound, la, then ah, then the V sound, the. It's three sounds, la, ah, the, love. So the
Do you love
L,
your wife?
the L is the base and the foundation of the word. So that's
Dude,
the game plan, the
that's
format,
so
and the
cold to
blueprint,
be like,
and the
I
feminine.
always want to know what love is with your girl sitting on the side of you.
Dang.
No, that's high level game right
He
there.
must be looking at you like, you mother. Nah.
It's really funny that as I was explaining to you my lifelong study of love and what it means, you just made jokes and interrupted me. I think that's really funny.
Well, all right. Oh yeah, I'll take this serious. Go, go, go.
Hey, earlier you said.
love?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, dude. Please.
Don't
No,
take things so sensitive, bro. Don't take them so personal, bro. Okay?
Well, he
There's
is
a
his.
bunch of boys here, bro. We're gonna be knocking on each
Well,
other. The
it
N word
seemed
might
Is his
slip up
emotions though.
sometimes. It's okay,
it
bro.
seemed like there
He
was
is
a
his emotions, so he's
heavy
constantly shifting what he actually is. His identity's constantly changing. So that's interesting.
change is a constant, so there's no way to avoid it until you're dead.
Yeah, that's called an oxymoron or a contradiction within the statement.
That change is a constant. That's observed reality.
Okay, define change, define constant.
A
Change
performative
is movement.
contradiction.
Anything that's moving is changing and transforming.
Okay, what is
Yo,
define constant?
Constant is a continuum. It never stops. It never begins.
faithful.
Okay, guess what? That's a contradiction. To
Yo,
say one is the other when they're opposites.
It's
It's
not
a
a
paradox.
contradiction. It's a
There's
yo,
seesaw
Apple.
with partners on either side of the seesaw bouncing off an access point. And every one of us has that format in our own body and story.
Yo, Apple. Since you like words, earlier you said that you like to ruminate, right? That you spent 40 years, or whatever you said, 20 years meditating, thinking, and ruminating. What do you mean by ruminate?
I'm balancing my reasoning to my intuition or my inner self or my will. So these are all words that coexist: emotion, essence, intuition, will, inner child, inner self. So these are all the realms that I'm entering when I go to my intuition side. My logic side is easy because the world taught me well through the education system. So I know how to use language and digits and sequences and formulations. So I use that side and I mix it to my other side, my ethereal side. So I use my material side that's familiar with the world of separations and definitions with my emotional side, which is familiar with all the unknowns.
All right, hold on, dude. Where do you think that word came from? I'm just picking at your brain. Do you know what a
It
ruminant
comes from
is?
Rumi.
You know what a ruminant is?
It comes from Rumi, the famous poet, mystic named Rumi. That's where the word ruminate
Oh,
comes
does
from.
it? I don't know who that is. But do you know what a ruminant is?
It has nothing to do with the word ruminate, but what does it mean, the word that you're mentioning?
Ruminant. Animals that chew their cud. You know what
No,
it
that's
means to
nice. That's
chew the
not what
cud?
ruminate. That's ridiculous. Okay, let's get back to the subject. Because
Hold on,
ruminate
dude.
is from
I'm
Rumi.
trying to teach you something. Relax, dude.
No, man, I know all
Stop being
about
so
chewing my
defensive.
cud and chewing on a piece of stick and thinking out in the woods and
Don't get offended.
spitting
I'm not
and
calling.
chewing on
Can't
my
teach an
stick and chewing
I'm
on
infallible
not
my
calling
cud.
man,
you a
dude.
ruminant,
You know,
dude.
I know, I know about that cud.
I'm not
Yo,
calling you a
cud.
ruminant.
I know about that shit, cud.
Hold on,
Dude,
bro.
this guy.
I think he was leading you down just some path of logic. Can we just hear it out? The rest of it?
No, I was just teasing. Please
I'm not
continue.
calling you a ruminant. But if the shoe fits, wear it. But the reason I say that is because there are animals that literally will spit up their food, the grass, right? And then they'll digest it again, and then they'll spit it up, and then they'll digest it again. Similarly, to ruminate on a thought, right? It's
You're
to
chewing on an idea.
what happened? I'm breaking up.
No, he
No,
said
No.
chewing on.
he was agreeing with
Chewing on
you
an
that
idea.
your connection of ruminant to ruminate is a good one because it
He said
shows this
chewing on an idea.
correlation with what the
Yes,
animal does to what the human does with his thought. So
you
that's
bring it
good.
up, yeah, in your mind. You bring it up again, like you would bring up
Yeah,
the food, and then you chew it up and digest it over and over again
sure.
to
Oh, so where are you
basically
going? Where are you
get
going
as
with
much
this?
absorption from it as possible.
Where are you going with this? That
Nothing.
this
I just
Like
did.
full
I
connection?
didn't. I
connection.
was trying to
That's a
show
very
you that what it means to ruminate on a thought, dude. That's why I
No,
asked you.
well,
But it's
yeah,
all
I
good, bro. Relax,
appreciate.
dude. It's all good. Go ahead. I didn't mean
No,
to.
I appreciate it, but that's exactly what I do is I take a thought and if I can't get an answer to it by trying to balance my logic and intuition, in other words, if the answer doesn't appear or I can't get an agreement, then I simply leave that particular notion on the shelf and wait for more information to come to me. And then I'll go back to that idea again. And if I still aren't satisfied, I'll do that process again. So I've done this ruminant activity with my ruminations over and over again throughout my life, where I've even changed the question. I've had times where the same question never gave me an answer enough times where I said, God damn it, I'm asking a different question. So, I've even taken it to that level where I've literally stopped asking the question and changed the question.
dude. I have a method for that in my bio. If you want to read it, that fixes that problem.
I fixed all my problems, so I'm not looking for help, but I do want to
Well, if
work
you're
with.
ruminating on things, you still haven't. You know what I'm saying? So
No, I was just talking about my process of coming to my conclusions. I haven't come to every conclusion. I've just come to many.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. For that process, I have a similar one. It's in my bio. If you want to read it.
Okay, cool. I'll make sure I read it. Thanks. But this seesaw affair is obvious in everything. This three-way affair, and it's everywhere. So you have left and right contentions against a center point that's neutral, and it's everywhere. Even in the word real. When you base words, you take the vowels and duplicate consonants out. So real bases the RL. But guess what's between right and left in the word real? EA. And this happens again in the word speak. You have SP as a syllable, so it's its own partnership. Then you have K at the roof of the word speak, but then EA is in the middle. So these type of coincidences happen across language all the time, where you see
And
this
that's EA.
triangle affair. It's a three-way affair between the right, the left, and the neutral.
And we're in EA this morning, Earth Awakenings. That's crazy, dude. But yeah, there is a triune aspect to our reality in the sense like matter, right? It comes in solid, liquid, gas, space, height, with length. So the environment that connects me to you, the thing that we interact with and it interacts with us, it seems to be like minimally triune in the sense that the space of the environment is height, width, and length as well.
That's cool.
Wait, is that linked to triune, length, width, and height? That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
even when two people are having a relationship, they're literally sharing the neutral air to communicate through their voice, as they pierce the air. And like there's literally a triune relationship, right, with just two people with the air.
I just never thought of that with length, width, and height, which would be like the sacred kind of core of the dimension, if you want to call it that, or like the what we call a sort of 3D space and all the geometry.
Shapes and forms. Shapes and
It's
forms.
really the foundation of reality. Yeah.
It is.
Now,
Okay, so the foundation.
chimeric forms take irregular shapes, but they always have a circuit. So even in a chimeric form, there's still a boundary around it. So it's still a circuit, even if it's a regular shape.
Here's the trinity of trinities, Gio, so you know, okay? Everything that we observe is within time, space, and matter. Time is broken down into past, present, future. Space is length, width, height. Matter is solid, liquid, gas. So now, I just want to put this point out there. Now it's being naturally revealed to everyone without a book that the thing that's ultimate and fundamental to our reality is triune. No one needed a book.
Scissors.
So we figured out so far that we are fallen, fallible men, and then being naturally revealed to us is the reality is triune in a sense, the thing that is ultimate.
Even ancient tribal people pointed this out. I've looked at a lot of Aboriginal carvings and geoglyphs and stuff like that, and you'll always find this symbol, and it's across the board, all cultures on the earth. It's a straight line with two diagonal lines coming up from it. Almost looks like a bird footprint. Same with like the Neptune's trident.
The symbol V, if you put it on a page, on a line, the symbol V, it's coming from an infinitesimal neutral point on the line, and then it breaks out into the left and right contention. So the symbol V is a very good symbol, and in the old times, in the Latin Roman alphabet, they didn't put the bridge on the A. So the A and the V were identical symbols, but inverted to each other.
That means the W must be really cool.
Yeah, the W is interesting because if you look at it carefully, it's two opposing check marks that are holding hands at an infinitesimal center point. So it's literally recognizing the left, right of the masculine, feminine, and the neutral child in the center. And then when you say the word, you're saying two of you, double you. And then there's many ways to look at two of you, but the two of you is also operating off of an access point or a neutral point.
I think they should have been called double V. I would have called it double V for sure.
Yeah, the eye, if you go back and you track the eye, it's like it relates to the wine bottle. You know, you pop the cork out and it's like your little dot. I always found that
It also
interesting.
it relates to your head and your thoughts, because even though your head is the hat of your body, your thoughts are ethereal in nature. So the lowercase I is representing the human being and his ethereal and material state.
You're rigor, you just laid down a dope, so it's like I, therefore wine. Instead of I think.
Yep. Yeah. It's like
Well, whining
floaties,
and winning,
letter
the
O.
only difference is the H, the silent H. So wine has the silent H, which represents the eight and the outbreath of man.
And the O is like extremely buoyant because if you shape floaties, you take the shape of an O with floaties, you won't drown when you put them on.
Yeah. We used to have this 93-year-old Sicilian back in Philly because I was like, that's a gang city. I grew up there though. But this 93-year-old Sicilian immigrant, he made illegal wine, and he had like 1,000 names of people because everybody was in a gang there. So all these different people donated their names so he could keep it on their private label so he didn't have to get registered. So we used to get this wine all the time. It was like 30-something% alcohol, which is one thing, but it didn't have any of the chemicals in it that the winemakers have to put in by law. So it was all private homemade wine, but he had like huge machines. He made it. It was all underground. And man, this wine was so freaking good. Like we got to the point, me and Nina, where we could each drink our own bottle. And I mean, this shit would take you into total wasteland. I mean, you wasted. But every morning, you just pop right up out of bed like nothing happened the night before. And like it proved to me that the wine they sell at the store with all those fucking chemicals they put in it, that's what gives you the hangover. It's not the fucking wine.
Go to a winery.
Well, I'm not doing that anymore because I'm out in the desert in Oregon, but that was back in the day. Now I just have like a shot of
You can
tequila
order it
once a
online.
week.
Yeah, you can type in the Brotherhood Winery,
Huh.
and then you can see their whole entire process and get a
And they
list
don't
of
use
ingredients
chemicals? They
that go
don't
into it.
use no chemicals?
Yeah, you can get a list of ingredients that go into it. For the most part, they're not going to give away their recipe.
I just know for the government has these regulations with the wine. They don't want people to get sick, they say. So instead they give them chemicals to make them more sick. I think that's pretty funny.
Yeah, these sulfur, and then they try and mop it up with egg. I think it pulls a lot of the tannins out, but I mean, yeah, you could
Before
make
the
a wine without it.
prohibition in USA, every house had its own winery inside of it until they made it illegal.
A friend of my father's was cleaning out the house of someone that had died, and he had all this wine that they were just throwing away, and it was made in 2001, and I had a bottle of it the other day, and geez, like, you just put no bad shit in it, no chemicals at all, and it just tasted. I don't know, it didn't taste like exquisite, but I was thinking that it was going to taste like vinegar, but that was great.
Hey, appleye, dude, what do you think about synchronicities? Do you think that the presence of synchronicities implies that there has to be some kind of creative intelligence?
Well, it implies or infers or proves to me through observation that it's part of a procession. So synchronicities and coincidence are pretty much the same thing, and they're an outcome of a previous event. So I believe all synchronicities and coincidences are simply part of a procession.
By procession, do you mean like linked back through time, like going backwards and forwards, or?
Yeah, I believe that all of our present moments, every single one of our present moments, are build-ups or aggregations of what preceded. So that's what a coincidence is. It's something preceded it. So I think that coincidences are preceded by circumstances, and circumstances are preceded by choices. Choices is preceded by will, and will is preceded by the mystery of nothing, or the creator designer of the universe.
Hey, it's Torah. What's up, Torah?
So would
So
this
if
almost be like a pre-designed deja vu?
No, it's actually an operating system, and each of us is a unique operator within it. So the operating system is perfect in the way it's designed, but each of us is imperfect in our design. So this way, as a group, we can each have unique experiences, and together we can experience variety. So it's like a learning experience, it's a proving ground, and as you know, at times it's a battleground.
What's the war against?
Well, the war is against our own ignorance. So we've basically reduced ourselves into ignorance so we can rediscover ourselves. So during this rediscovery period, we're experiencing ignorance and harshness. So the war is against our own discoveries and rediscoveries.
So that implies that the one consciousness, when we're all together without ignorance, is boring to the point that we would want to split up. So that's not infinite bliss. It's actually hell.
Well, if we don't have an experience, then we don't get to understand what the X means, because all those words that start with the sound X, they're speaking to the two lines crossed and also the infinitesimal absolute center of those two lines crossed. So we're having an 8-way experience within that X, 4 corners pointing in, 4 arms pointing out, and one ultimate absolute center source of it all.
Okay, are you trying to get back to the center source? Are you trying to get out of ignorance?
Well, it's a discovery process of leaving home, going out, collecting, and then coming back home. So it's similar to one day.
Okay, is your ultimate desire to have no desires?
No, desire means of the Father, so that's a trick word that's given to us. So in triunal format, you can get to the truth of the word desire. So DE is a root word that means keep or dismiss, so it relates to your will. And then ire is the capstone of the word desire, so that means the agitation. But the S in the central form in the word desire represents the Latin term ESSES. It's a word of unknown origin that means to be or the thought before the form, but it led to the word in Latin ENS, which is pronounced ens, and that's a descriptive term for a human being. So within the word desire, you're seeing S in the center, the form, the human being, ire at the end, the agitation, and DE in the front, the game plan blueprint of will.
Was it Sunday?
Okay, so are you like you said, we're in ignorance and we're struggling to get out of ignorance. Why would we want to get out of ignorance if we were in a state of non-ignorance and then we chose to go into a state of ignorance? It sounds like the state of non-ignorance sucks.
So overcome it.
No, it's not really that. It's that we're personified. So in our unique personification, we want to experience every variety. So we end up creating a wave that goes from periods of no limits to periods of limits. So within the wave of the human species project, we're in a period of limitation right now.
Yeah, dude, is this ongoing? Like, has this been like waves? Like, there's been limitation, then unlimited, then limitation, then unlimited? Or is this the first time the unlimited went to a limitation?
Well, I would have to be presumptive here, but I think that the Earth experience and the human experience is attached to many dimensions that we're at this point not aware of because of our state of limitation we're in. But within our experience, there's many dimensions all around us, but we are the central figures. So even though there's more intelligent creatures and entities around us, they don't have the same value or the same closeness to the center as we do. So by being, like we've earned our position. So even though we're ignorant, we're standing at the central location. So we're as close as you can get to grabbing the golden ring on the merry-go-round as any entity in this universe can be.
Wait, and if we're ignorant, how do we know that?
Well,
Well, we're
just
ignorant
gonna,
because we have to ask a lot of questions all the time and we get a lot of confusing answers all the time.
I didn't get an
Yuga,
answer to my question.
I was just going to add to that, Kali Yuga in the Age of Aquarius.
Yeah, and the Kali Yuga cycle is going to be a period of low virtue. So in the Kali Yuga period, you're going to have 25% virtue in the human species and 75% non-virtue. So the Yuga cycles run in a similar wave the way I just described, where you run in a waves from periods of no limit to periods of limit, or periods of a lot of virtue to periods of less virtue. So this creates variety and it creates an experience. So through this varietal experiences, we're understanding everything there is to know about the human species.
While in ignorance.
Yes. Well, we're creative no matter how ignorant we are. No matter how small of a box we put ourselves in, we're still occupying the axis of the universe. So whatever realm or cubicle or unlimit we put ourselves in, we're going to be creative within that experience, and we're going to create variety. And that's because each of us is personified by the designer of the universe. You know, God is not the personified one. God is not definable. God's the creator, designer of everything. We're the personified ones. God doesn't judge. God created the operating system. We're the ones who judge. We can have the experience of judging.
Yeah, but wouldn't that be the thing that you're measuring the unlimited? Like that's the thing you're calling unlimited that you're going to return to? Like there would have to be something that is unlimited for you to know that you're limited.
I don't have to return anything. I get to keep everything. So even though I'm going back and forth between, think of it as a record. So even though I'm going back and forth across the record, listening to the different stories, I'm always aware of the edge of the record and the center of the record. I understand that I'm in form because I'm operating off of an access point. So I don't get to lose or trash anything. I get to keep it all.
And when you keep pointing to the idea that we're infallible and you have to point at God, God is something that isn't really clearly definable. It's within all of us. But what we do, the standards that we do have for perfection, and they're all subjective, right? It's the good, the true, and the beautiful. So you can aim as high as you want, and you can see those pillars of beauty, those pillars of goodness and truth, right? So, that's for you to judge.
Dude, I gave you the definition. God is the thing you call infallible. The thing that you say, I know I'm fallible, because you're measuring against something called infallibility. That's the definition, okay? So if you agree that concept exists, then obviously God exists.
Well, if you see the triunal relationship of left, right, or the two contentions against an axis point, then you can at least observe that there's a central axis point that's absolute. And this absolute point from our limited state is not definable. But through its expressions, which is literally our bodies and our stories, that way we can know the axis point. So through this process of getting to know the axis point, through its expressions, we can ultimately unify all the experiences back home to the axis point. So we're not losing anything. We're not trading one
But we
thing
don't
for another.
want that. We don't want that because then we'll just want to separate again. Why would we want to go back to that state? We already decided that state sucks. We want to be separated and ignorant.
Because our wisdom would grow and progress to the point where we would not need to return to lesser things. Like, imagine if the world itself shrank in your hands into a tiny thing, and then the rest of your wisdom grew. So that little thing would become less significant to you, but it wouldn't
Torah,
be lost from your experience.
Torah, what if it doesn't have to be one or the other? Like, like you were using the word sucks, like, this one sucks and this one's better. What if just they both exist? Like you would have that eternal knowing and then also the eternal not knowing. And what if both of those exist and are interesting to have as part of experience?
It sounds tyrannical, like I don't have a choice in the matter. So yeah, I disagree with it 100%. And then this gentleman just said, we're gaining wisdom as if the ultimate thing that created everything doesn't already know everything, like it's learning. And that's even scarier. I definitely don't want to be in that world. No way, dude. I'm not in a world where it's just like,
I don't want to jump in God's mind, but I have posed this question to myself, like, why would God want to create such experiences? So from my limited perspective, I have to accept that this universe doesn't have to be the only universe that the designer made. So it could be that I'm part of a much larger project, even amongst the vastness of this universe and how great and spectacular it is. This could still just be one universe amongst an endless amount of megaverses.
it's just weird. It's called the universe. What does uni mean?
It means one verse. It's actually a triune word.
And where did you come up with the idea of multiverses?
Because why does this have to be the only universe? How can I profess that without knowing?
Okay, because we're in ignorance and we can't know anything, so we can't know what you're talking about either then. We couldn't
I
know if this
just,
is one universe or if it's many universes, if we've separated from the center point or if we're trying to get back to it. We can't know any of that because you just defeated it all by that last statement.
well, I believe we're at the center of the universe, the same way the Nordics believed. So it's a giant tree of life, the universe itself, and we're in the central plane. So we have the highest opportunity in the universe, right where we
I
sit.
get it, dude. I get it. And you imagined it to be this way. And I told you, when I use my intuition, my imagination, my comprehension, I come to the conclusion that I'm wrong and fallible. But for some reason, you haven't come to that conclusion. Yet you can look around in the world and look and see all the people are wrong and fallible, except for you.
No, I don't look at it that way. I think everybody's perfect.
You think the dudes that are doing terrible things to little children are perfect?
I think that everyone that
That's a
has a
bold
beating
claim, buddy.
heart, I think that everyone that has a pulsing heart is occupying the axis of the universe. What they choose to do with it is on their hands.
You just said they're right.
But that doesn't
I didn't say they
answer
were right. I said
anything.
perfect. I didn't say right. I said they were perfect.
Okay, then what does perfect mean?
An occupier of the axis of the universe.
Where'd you get that
Oh my
definition?
goodness, bro. Come on. You
Are we
can't
allowed
just
to just
change the
make up
definition of
definitions?
words.
Yeah, so now I'm
We're
just
just
gonna
gonna
make
make
up the
up fucking.
definition. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
I didn't make that up. That
can't
comes
even.
from
You can't.
thousands of
Dude,
theological
try.
texts.
Yeah, but if you're gonna talk to us, we speak English. Just try and use English to communicate with us.
All right, so the central point of the universe is your essence. So it's your power source. It's your central location. So out of your central location, everything spreads out or bursts out from there. So you're a walking example of creation. So within your body and your story is the central point.
Yeah, I was talking about the perfect definition. And like, do you have
The,
a new word instead of perfect in English?
the implication of that last statement was also that you are God.
No, I meant if you have the potential of perfection and you're occupying it, then that by extension makes you perfect. You have the potential of perfection. You're holding the potential.
Okay, awesome. If you have that potential, then what is the thing that's gonna make it kinetic?
Well, we're doing it together as a group and we're doing it independently as solos. So it's happening both ways at the same time against the axis.
So the potential affects the potential until the potential becomes kinetic. Like the potential keeps on messing with potential.
Well, since it's a wave, it's going to happen whether we want it to or not. So the wave is the change is constant. So the wave continues. We're in a continuum. We're not, even though we're living and dying in our mortal bodies, the energetics are not dying. They're continuous. And it's a continuous wave of ups and downs and returns.
So do you think we all contain the whole thing within us? Each one of us.
Yeah, not only
contains
do we contain a fragment of the axis or a spark of God within us, we're also in our own body a reduction pattern of the entire story of creation from the beginning.
Sounds kind of like a pixelated universe that if you went far enough away, nothing would be moving. Like a television screen, you know how each one of the little pixels is just a flashing of color, but nothing's actually moving on the screen.
Exactly. Well, it's all perspective. Like, it's two things really. It's perspective and proportionate. So your proportions are your value sets or where you place your attention. So your proportions are going to determine your perspective. But as far as perspective goes, we all understand perspective. So if I look down at the town from the top of a mountain, I see it in one picture. But if I travel into town and I'm in town, I have a different perspective.
Yeah, I've always liked the idea of a pixelated universe. You know, I'm not afraid to say like God is being itself, you know.
I mean, in the word divine, I think I pretty much parsed it out because I believe words, like I said, are aggregating just like our lives are. So in the word divine, you have di, which is the root word de again. So it literally means there's a root too, but di is also the meaning of keep or dismiss. And then at the end, at the capstone of divine, you have ine, and that's a specific root that means in the manner of. And then in the very center of divine, you have the v, which is a very special symbol because it breaks out from an absolute center point off the line into a left and right contentious form.
The unpruned vine.
In the Latin Roman alphabet, they show it exquisitely in the numbers 1, 2, 3. I for 1, I for 2, I for 3.
This is kind of a random thought, but just related. For some reason, it popped in my head. Do you think all suffering will cease eventually?
Absolutely.
All
Like,
the
yeah,
tears
yeah,
will be wiped away.
The word
like the
suffer
idea that
actually is
that it's all temporary, the suffering.
well, the word within the language are all the descriptions and all the reveals. So in the word suffer, it's actually two root words, suf, which means to turn away from or ignore, and fur, which means motive, urge, fire, or bringer. So suffer is a map to losing suffering because you only have two choices in your mentality. You can face your fears or you can face your fire. And your fire is your essence, your access point. It's literally your connection to the whole operating system of the universe that you're occupying in your own body. So really, it's a matter of facing fear or fire. And that's where the word suffer is explaining to us.
Dude, suffering makes us so much stronger. It's like such a good thing, but for sure I could see like how people are offended by it. But yeah, it would make sense that you would go through a process like working out, which is like suffering, and then you would create muscle and more muscle. And then yeah, it would make sense too after that period of suffering for there to be a period of rest.
I agree. And I came to a period with mundane tasks, like for most of my life, most of us, mundane tasks are not fun. And I came to learn that you can actually put yourself in a peaceful mood in a meditative state. And when you're doing mundane tasks, because you have a goal. And the reason you're doing your mundane tasks is because you want to achieve the goal. So if you keep your eye on the goal, then the path doesn't offend you anymore.
It's crazy it's so wild how you're like what you're being naturally revealed lines up so well like with the scripture. It's just wild. You know, Jesus is the vine. You have like the Israelites, the Levites had to do mundane tasks in the temple, and they're explained exactly what you just said. You know, so wild, dude.
Yeah, I didn't know about that, but the reason I came to terms with the word mundane was while I was studying language, I came across the Latin phrase axis mundi, which translates to the world, if you want to do a simple translation. But it occurred to me that it's representing axis, which is the power of the universe, and then mundi, which is basically the execution of the source. So, like within the phrase axis mundi in Latin, it's kind of explaining everything, including the word mundane. Even the word world is the same as when we blend things. I whirl them up. So even the word world, we're saying, like a spinning record. We're practically saying that when we voice the word world. And if you think carefully, word and world are almost the same word. The only variance is the letter L or the symbol L. So if you don't count the J, because I don't count the J as a number. I don't take it out of the alphabet, but I don't count it as a number. So this puts L at 1-1 position, or the 11th position, 11, which is 2 ones next to each other. So when you take word and then put L in there, you're adding I, or the human being. So word and world are very associated.
Are you doing that thing again, appleye, where you put 2 and 2 together and make 5?
I and
It's interesting
I.
that you
That's what the
mentioned 5,
Jamaicans.
because it's interesting you mentioned 5 real quick, because that's the central letter of the number scale. You got 4 coming in, 4 going out, 5 in the center.
Because I, like a captain, I captain, and a captain, you're in charge of the sea, and if you see, then it's revealed, and
You're the vessel.
you're the vessel.
And we're in this together. That's why it's called fellowship, because you're on it, on the boat.
Yeah, it's good to hear you, Torah. Anyway, I hadn't heard you for a bit, dude. I was watching Alex O'Connor yesterday on that Jubilee thing where one atheist or whatever it is, you know how they do the format, surrounded by 25 Christians, and one thought occurred to me is he's absolutely safe in that room.
And he's a Christian too, Alex O'Connor.
Well, I mean, he's agnostic, I would say, but it was just a funny thought I had. I just thought to myself, he's regardless of what you think of may have happened or may not have happened to Charlie Kirk. I thought to myself, he's completely safe in that room and it was a very cordial debate, right? It was never shitty.
That's how you know he's a Christian.
Oh, right, yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, he knows more about the scripture than most Christians. I will say that. But yeah, I mean, one of his arguments was a little bit on the back of what Gio was saying, something like, obviously, he believes the evolutionary explanation for many things. But if you think about the amount of animal suffering over billions of years, his argument was that it's unlikely that you'd have a loving God with billions of years of animal suffering.
Lasco's argument. Lasco likes that argument too. They call it undeserved animal suffering. So therefore, you're making a judgment call on what is deserved and undeserved. What you're going to need in order to make that judgment call is the necessary, like the indispensable primary prescription of possibility and impossibility for you to claim what is deserved and what is undeserved.
Intent
I
is
think that's why.
non-sensible.
I think that's why he chooses his words carefully in the prompt and uses a word like unlikely, rather than a sort of absolute.
That's right, because he's using an inductive argument, so he knows he can't make the claim. There is no deductive aspect to his worldview because it's impossible, because in order to do deduction, you'd have to start with the conclusion, and they say they don't have that, they don't know. But like a Christian says, we know the conclusion, we know that God created everything, and then we can work our way backwards from that. So that's why we have deduction on our side.
Yeah, there weren't too many good arguments again. I'm trying to think now of what a few people are sort of suggesting that maybe on the other side there's a sort of perfect justice and a compensation, if you will, and therefore it sort of worked itself out in that way. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. I think on that argument, I would use an enthymeme, so I wouldn't state the conclusion, but I'd say, so you think it's wrong that these animals are suffering? Does that make you hope for something? And if it is the case that that makes you hope for like the non-suffering of animals, isn't that interesting? Do you think it's a possibility that the world is in the position that it is in today so that you would hope for perfection, so you would have something to look forward to?
Well, predation is the great stainless steel blender that is part of the decomposition of all of the negative parts of self, right? And it will get worked out in the end.
It seems pretty obvious. Like it's like an if-then statement, but you can't ground the premise. Like if it's just like saying if there's more suffering than not, then God has allows more suffering than not. But then you'd have to know how things are suffering more. Like if there's billions of years, it's like another if. And if during those billions of years animals were suffering greatly and there was more suffering than not suffering, then how could God be good? It seems like pretty basic.
Yeah, so there seems to be a trend called Malthesium. I don't know if you guys know the demiurge god Malthesium, but that's what you guys are talking about.
Well, yeah. But the interesting part of that whole argument, Andy, is in the Bible, Jesus tells like everyone that you're going to suffer for my name's sake. So in Christianity, we don't look at suffering as bad. We look at it as necessary, as it just is what it is. You can't deprive an art from that.
Similar to Islam is very into suffering, and almost all of these ideologies are based on end times. So this end of the world notion is pretty much a common throughout the religions and the theologies. I don't think it's necessary.
No end time stuff. No. Apocalypse means revelation. So that Jesus showed up and it's apocalypse now. The revelation has been given. It's been revealed. So now you know. And the comforter has been sent. So that way you can discern that you're fallible.
I think having a savior reduces your chances of winning. So if you have a savior or a messiah, then your chances of winning are cut in half.
Okay, if I've used my discernment, though, to determine that I'm wrong and retarded, what's your rebuttal?
Well, you're experiencing that right now. It's your reality. But the truth is that you're containing the axis of the universe and the source of all unknowns, and they're waiting there for you to claim them.
So then you're claiming I use my intuition and I'm right that I'm wrong and retarded, even though I'm claiming I'm wrong and retarded?
You have full domain over your reality and what you think and the values you place. So whatever you make as your reality, you own. It's your reality. I can't take that from you.
Dude, I use my discernment, right? The thing that we're using to understand things, and I figured out I'm wrong and retarded.
So work on it.
Work on what? Am I right? I can't be right about that conclusion. Can I be right about that conclusion, dude? Do you understand I'm giving you a self-defeating statement?
I've answered you several times.
It's like saying the only truth that exists is that we don't know anything.
If wrong and retarded become a big part of your identity, you will embody them.
Dude, it's just hilarious because it's like weird that you're scared to admit you're fallible. Like it's strange.
I'm not scared to admit I'm fallible. I'm very fallible. I don't live in a mortal body. I'm going to die.
Yeah, but you don't need a savior, bro. You're infallible.
I don't need a savior. I do not need a
you're
savior.
Infallible. Only fallible people need saviors.
I told you why. I'm occupying the axis of the universe. It's calling to me. I hear it. I'm facing it. I'm going to claim it. So I will find my savior within myself. The axis.
Yeah, but when you used your discernment to figure all that out, that same discernment also told you that you're wrong.
Because I'm occupying the axis. So if I adjust my behavior, then I'll be able to point my precise focus toward the axis and claim it.
That's not going to help you any when you're the thing you're using, the discernment you're using to do all that has already demonstrated to yourself that you're wrong and retarded.
No, actually, it demonstrated to me that I own the source of perfection within my own body and story.
Thank you. So therefore, you have just claimed you're infallible.
I already did admit that.
That
Here's
you're
a question.
infallible?
I said
Here's
I
a really
own the axis of the universe within my body, so I have the potential to claim perfection.
And here's another point to that, right? Is that if you were made, like, if God is infallible and perfect, right, and you were made in the image of God, right, is that not attainable within yourself, at least to grasp it?
There you go. I mean, Jesus himself says, seek the Christ within and seek the kingdom of God within. So I take that as precedence over all other claims that were made after that. Christianity was around long before Christianity was formed because the Essenes were teaching about the term called Christ or Christos, even before Jesus was born. So when Jesus was born, Joseph and Mary were students of the Essenes. So Jesus was born into the Essenes, and they actually helped teach him and guide Jesus. So the idea of Christ always meant the essence point inside every human being, this axis that I'm talking about. So before Christianity was formed, hundreds of years before, the word Christ was being used regularly, Christos, to refer to your spirit, your aura, your essence. It was used later as a title when the Romans attached it to the name Jesus. They attached the word Christ as a title, but it's not his name. In Greek, it's pronounced Aristos. They use a half vowel. They have 7 vowels in Greek as opposed to 5 in English. So it's more akin to a H sound, that chi symbol that they use in Greek. The chi symbol is the 22nd letter in the Greek alphabet. It looks like an X. So that's the beginning of the word Christos in Greek. But in Greek voice tongue, it's pronounced Aristos. Even today. Go ask a Greek right now.
Jesus Aristos.
So it's interesting that it's the 22nd letter is J, looking like an X in Greek. And if you don't count the J, as I decode our language today, I don't count the J as a number. It puts W at 22, the double V symbol.
I was wondering where that 11 came from before.
Well, when you put 2 11s together, you basically have you with your mother L on one side, your father L on the other, and you are the star or the mystery in the middle. Like when you look at the symbol W, it's 2 check marks facing each other, holding hands or touching at an infinitesimal absolute center point. That would be the mother, father, and the child in the symbol of the W.
So the dude that does terrible things to innocent children is perfect.
No, I didn't say he was perfect. I said he's occupying a piece of the axis of the universe.
You certainly can imbue lines and figures and dots with meaning to give it some kind of...
It's actually an aggregation of creation over time and procession. So I see the language as a perfect formulation, aggregation of symbols that match our ideas and our thoughts and our emotions.
Yeah, but if you take a step back, what you're doing is you're imbuing lines, dots, and figures, etc., with meaning of your own.
No, I'm looking at the whole history of it, going back in time to started scribing and speaking as much as other.
You're pointing to something that gives you a pool to draw from when you are imbuing meaning onto the dots, points, lines.
Well, I actually use the ruminant discovery process of constantly revisiting certain ideas and symbols and going back to them over and over again, just like the cow does. So I did this with my thoughts and ideas until I came to precise conclusions that I could own, that I didn't have to have faith or believe in.
Well, you certainly can justify it in that sense and make that sound as being the case, but nevertheless, you have a pool to draw from, like an artist has a selection of colors, and you use each color, and one color and another gives you a connection to something, and then you draw a picture, or you point to the words like W here connecting in the middle, and you give it meaning, you imbue it with meaning to make it make sense, and yeah.
Well, also because we're voicing W also, and its position in the alphabet is 2-2, 22nd. So there's many correlations. I'm not just simply picking out a symbol and saying, "Hey, guess what this means? I'm a little boy, 6 years old, and I just saw this cool thing." I'm 66 years old. Okay, I'm not 6 years old.
Hold on,
You don't need to belittle yourself.
I wanted to ask this real quick. How do you get the W being 22 when there's 23 letters in the alphabet, and then you minus the J out?
No, I don't minus the J out. I don't minus the J out.
How do you get W being 22 if there's 23 letters in the alphabet?
There's 25 natural letters from A to Z. The J is an intervention, and it mocks the essence or the Christos.
Okay, what's the extra 2 that nobody has ever heard of?
Sorry, mate, Torah. There's 26 minus J, 25.
Right, exactly.
26, 25. So W is 22.
Right.
Okay. And then that means?
It means the sound W, which means 2 of you, and it also symbolizes the mother, father, and the child as a symbol.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Sorry about that.
I just want to say, like, this idea of putting things together and painting, right? If a 6-year-old was to throw some paint on a bit of paper, it wouldn't look very good. But if you're, master artist, you can make something that has a lot of meaning. And the colours are not put together just willy nilly. There's a rhyme and a reason to it. And the way that the English language has been formed over time and has morphed actually means that there is all of this imbued meaning. It is crazy that there are connections that can be made, and it's because it logically stems from our being and the way that we've used these words over time.
Yeah.
Wait, how do you know that it stemmed from our being?
Wait 1 second, Tor. So yeah, of course, if you want to go at it in a more geometrical sense, if you want to go at it, of course you can choose. Like, the meaning behind it doesn't get lost whether or not you have like a perfect geometrical shape that you've used, like a ruler and a square, and you drew up and you connected dots and it just looks so perfect in a sense, towards like compared to a child picking up a blue color and feeling like they draw their mother, but when you look at the paper, it's just lines back and forth, but they point at it and it says mom. There's not one over the other, hasn't more or less meaning. It really depends on what's being imbued with what's being made and the meaning attributed to it. Like, it's still just drawing, whether it is highly ordered or what you think is chaotic, but for a child it's still highly ordered.
Well, it's all in the eye of the beholder, right? And what if
if you prefer geometrical shapes that fixate on vertices, etc., and make these vivid imageries, that's your preference, like you just now was gonna say.
And some painters can pick up a bit of paintbrush without any kind of stenciling or drawing, and they can make something that's quite accurate and very very realistic looking, or very meaningful in an abstract way.
This is besides the point.
Well, look, when what if someone were to paint something that had meaning to you, right? Like, there were aspects of this painting that incorporated objects that you were very familiar with and they were very important to your childhood, or things that were intrinsic to your life. This is kind of what language is. That it is something that we are used to using from a young age, and through the millennia, we have incorporated this language into some sort of emotional relation to our bodies.
Yeah, partially, and besides the point. So you're right. You're born into a world where you're adopting a specific frame in order to communicate specific. Whether you are in a more advanced society or not is besides the point. There still will be some kind of communication tool, whether that, you know, is by pure sign systems with your hands, or like guttural sounds, or gone more supposedly advanced into like English in the modern sense. Yeah, sure. You can have effective relation to words language, but that's besides the point. So you're just now talking about preference again, that you prefer, for example, high abstract geometrical forms that you indeed can make with mathematics, etc. is your personal preference. It doesn't mean that it has more meaning or more access or more ability to convey something. Although for you, that has a specific sense of that being accomplished, etc., etc.
Well, I'll put it this way: if we were having this conversation in Chinese, what you're saying would be viewed as ridiculous. And I'm not trying to offend you or say that you're wrong or anything. The thing is that we'll look at the Chinese language. They have thousands of characters, and each of these characters have a lot of meaning imbued into them. Like there'll be like I think it was like the man symbol, the water symbol, the woman, child. They're all very similar, and there's only just slight changes in the symbology. Now, if you were to say that this symbology didn't have any intrinsic basis in experience, you'd be laughed at.
Is that what I'm saying?
No, but what I'm saying is that just like the Chinese letter structure, our language structure has embodied those intrinsic meanings.
Yeah. And?
Well, that's what I just think that's I think that it's silly to say that it's like painting. I don't think that you can that you're just mixing things together and then making your own assumptions from it. There are
It's not entirely the same, and this is besides the point. And
there are truths that can be learned from analyzing this language structure.